A highly anticipated video. Hi, hello, welcome. New viewers and old viewers of my channel, today I have a special video. We're going to be doing a Bloxfruit guide video, more like a beginner's guide. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. When you first open up the game, this is going to be a pick a side screen. You gotta do pirates or you gotta do marines. Whichever one you choose doesn't really matter. What I will say is if you choose marines, you won't be able to attack other marines. You'll only be able to attack pirates. If you choose pirates, you'll be able to attack everybody. That's besides the point, not really important right now. But let's get straight into it. In the first island you start off with, whether it's pirates or marines, you're going to be wanting to do the first quest. Do the first quest by going over to where the exclamation mark is on either island and talk to whoever it is, the quest giver. Click on them. Obviously it pops up saying please select a quest. You do the first quest and it'll tell you to defeat 5 trainees. You do that and you just come back to this guy and you keep repeating it. One thing about Bloxfruit is that it's very tedious and long. Obviously I'm level 2550, which is the max. So once you get to the first island, this one, do the first quest. Probably won't be able to leave until you're either level 10 or 15. I can't really remember exactly, but you just come over, do the first quest, and you get to the level requirement. Now come over to this map. It tells you that it's 15 plus for the next island, 30 plus for the next, 60 plus for the next, and 90 plus for the next. Where the map shows you, so for example, I'm at the marine base, so it's the one below the middle island. The next island we have to go to is to the left of the marine base, so that's the jungle island that's located over in this direction. But before you leave the island, before anything, I highly suggest going over and getting either a sword or weapon or a gun. I highly suggest before you leave the island or before you even start the first quest, talking to the sword dealer. Sword dealer will give you literally a sword, katana or cutlass, whichever one you want. A lot of people go for the katana, a lot of people go for the cutlass. It does not matter. What does matter though is that if you want to get to the 3 sword style, you have to level up the katana. Pick the katana first, and then you move on to the next couple of islands and you'll find one where there's a sword dealer that gives you 2-handed katana styles. So that's only if you're wanting to do the whole 3 sword style thing, but we'll come back to that when we get there. So first island, you just do whatever. Like I stated, you have to go get the sword and then do the first quest. Get to level 10 or 15 and move on to the jungle island. So we're at the jungle island and the quest giver is located at the middle area. Talk to him and he'll have not 1 but 3 new quests to do. The first one, it's usually the intro to the island, so you'll have to do this. So defeat 6 monkeys, they'll give you the rewards. You do that and you'll be surprised that you can't actually move on to the gorillas unless you get to level 15. So you have to keep doing the monkeys one, the first one, till level 15. So you keep doing the first one until you get to 15. You get to 15, you move on to the second quest and you start doing that one. Now you may be asking, like, why should I just do monkeys if I ever get to the gorillas? Well, when you get to the gorillas, you may find them a bit further away than the monkeys. So what I mean by this is if you're doing this quest, which is the monkeys, and you get to gorillas, sometimes on different island it's best not to do the second quest and entirely skip it. It saves you time. So let's say I got to level 15 and I want to do the gorillas one. Highly recommend to just do the monkeys because the monkeys are just right here, while the gorillas are on a separate little island further away, meaning it's time consuming to just go over to this island, kill the gorillas, and have to go back and accept another quest. When if you just kill the monkeys that are just right here, you'll be faster and more efficient. And if you think about it logically, the faster you do the first one, the second one doesn't really matter. As you do the first one, you're going to be faster than the second one. But that's besides the point. If you want to do that, Doesn't really matter. I'm just saying that on different islands, and you'll find this out more in the second sea and third sea, but in this video we probably won't be able to get there, so this will probably be a C1 beginner's guide. But anyways, third one on every island is almost usually a boss that you have to defeat, and the boss is very, very difficult. So let's say you started the third quest. It'll take you to where the boss would be located with a little yellow indicator, and it'll show you where the boss is. Now, a lot of people kill the boss once and then move on to the first or second quest, which is really, really good to do. So usually when people do the third quest, they tend to go kill the boss and then go back and accept another quest for the third quest to defeat the boss again. In Bloxfruit, not really recommended to do this, and you'll find out why relatively shortly. So let's say, since I just killed the gorilla, I'm going to accept it again, and I'm going to go over to where he's located at. Really weird that it's not showing me where he's at, but he's in this direction. Go over here, and he spawns over here. And so I already killed the gorilla, but you'll find out that if you try to do the third quest again, boss or whoever's there isn't going to be there. And the real reason behind this is because the game has a set timer for bosses. So if you kill a boss or somebody else kills a boss, that boss's respawn timer is long. You won't be able to just continuously do the third quest. You have to move back to either first or second. And this is for pretty much any and all islands, but that depends if the island has a boss. When you're done with the jungle island, it's time to move on to the pirate village. The pirate village, I think, is level 30. Alright, so once you're at the pirate village, the quest giver is located right here. Talk to him, he'll have you kill 8 pirates. You kill the 8 pirates. Obviously there's only 4, but you kill them, and you just continuously do the same exact quest. And you'll find this a lot, that you have to do the same quest over and over and over again. Again, like I said, this game's very tedious on the whole XP grind. I can't really do much for the first sea. The first sea is really just grinding to get out of the first sea onto the second sea, because that's where the real guide begins. But the first sea, I just want to get out the way for new players or people who just want to get into Bloxfruit. You know, move on to the brutes or whatever. Like I said, in the jungle island, this is really just a suggestion. I suggest skipping the brutes. Number 1, they're too far away, and number 2, I think they're very strong for a low level with a sword, so you pretty much be struggling, and you really don't want to be struggling on enemies. You really don't want to be struggling on enemies too long. You really want to just do it fast and efficient. So going back to the pirates and just farming them a bit more may be boring and tedious, but it's kind of just recommended, or at least suggested by me, that you should just do the first quest and then do the third quest on some islands, different islands. We'll get back to that. But on this island, let's say you get to Bobby, third quest. You head over here, go up these stairs. He's gonna be on the left. He's usually up here, but for some reason he's down here. So kill him, and you go back and you start doing the first or second quest. Now, before you leave this island, head over to this sword dealer. You could even do this at the beginning of the island. I just keep forgetting towards the end. But at the first time you touch this island, you could head over to the sword dealer and get the dual katana. It'll probably be a requirement for getting, I think, mastery levels. And I'll get into the mastery levels once we get to the Bloxfruits. Because the mastery levels are important when you learn about the Bloxfruits. So if you're not into swords and combat like that, you can head over to this new fighting style that's located behind this gate right here. As you can see, there's a door. If you want, you just walk through it, and there's a teacher there. Talk to the teacher, and they'll teach you Sanji's fighting style. This is my first time having the fighting style, so I never really leveled up. But any item, weapon, fighting style you get, you're gonna have it automatically mastery level of 1. And to level that up, again, I'll get into that when we get to the Bloxfruits. If you ever get to the second quest, I think it's the second quest. No, third quest. If you ever get to Bobby, I highly recommend going back to the jungle island. And I'll show you why. Alright, so back at the jungle island, you may have noticed there's a guy up here at the rock mountain area. You may have noticed that he is called the Bloxfruit Gacha. You probably already tried speaking to him and realized that you can't really do much. But when you're level 50, you're able to come to this guy and you're able to get a fruit from him. The issue is money. So depending on the level and depending on how many times you bought a fruit, you can't really, how do you say, use, depending on how many times you've bought a fruit or leveled up, the amount of money it requires depends on that. So right now it says 2,550. Obviously, so what I mean by this is, for example, it says you're level 2,550 and your next fruit purchase is going to be 325,000. Obviously it's not going to cost that much for you, but for me, because I bought so many fruits and I'm level 2,550, it costs me that much. So I can't really buy a fruit right now because I've already purchased one, but I highly recommend getting a fruit and then just seeing what fruit it gets. Now, there are different amount of fruits that you could get. For example, spirit fruit, spider fruit, ghost fruit, rubber fruit, barrier fruit. All these fruits can be good in their own way. But let me explain to you the best farming fruit that you could possibly ever get, and that's the Buddha fruit. The Buddha fruit, if you happen to get it, you never ever want to trade off of it. Now, you may be asking, well, what if I want to explore different fruits? You could if you want to, but again, the risk factor of that is getting that fruit again. So, if you eat the Buddha fruit, you'll get its ability. It's going to be in your hotbar. You press whatever key it is. For me, it's 2. The Buddha fruit has different abilities in it. And for example, the shift form turns you into a giant, turns you into a Buddha. The problem that, well, it's going to be different for everybody. For me right now, because I have it upgraded to level 2, it's going to have this circle around it. For you, if it's your first time having the Buddha, you're going to be a little bit smaller with no circle around you. So, if you have the Buddha fruit, I'll get into that, why it's a good fruit. But for right now, every other fruit that you get, it could be like the ice fruit, the smoke fruit, flame fruit. Doesn't really matter. If it's a fruit, it's a fruit. It's good. Let me tell you the worst fruits though. Bomb fruit, spin fruit, and chop fruit. You may be asking, why are those the worst? Bomb fruit, you can't really do much with it. And chop fruit, it's okay sometimes, not really good for farming. Spin fruit, not really good for farming. Bomb fruit, not really good for farming. These are like fruits that start off with one ability, because every fruit you start off with, or anything you start off with, if it has a mastery of level 1, it needs to be good. It needs to be good for you to use. Bomb fruit, when it's mastery level 1, is bad. Spin fruit, when it's mastery level 1, bad. Chop fruit, bad. So you don't really want those fruits. You don't really want any of the gray ones. Smoke fruits, decent. Spike fruits, no. Any fruit you start off with, whether it's good or bad, it's a fruit. Might as well eat it. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be given like bad fruits, like I stated. If you're given any of the god tier ones, count yourself lucky, because a lot of people would literally fiend over you because you got something good. But for this guide, if you get the Buddha fruit, count yourself extremely lucky, because that is going to be your biggest time saver in leveling up in this game. Buddha fruit allows you to pretty much hit your enemies from a distance. It's not necessarily the fruit, it's just the shift form that you really want to use. So for example, I turn into the Buddha fruit, I'm able to hit this monkey from a great distance. It doesn't have a chance to hit me at all whatsoever. A lot of people like that because, again, you could be farming all these sort of enemies and you don't even have to be near them. You could just run by, hit them once, hit them a couple times, run around, and you're able to just hit them from a distance. It's really good for farming, like I said. Highly recommend not leveling up its mastery. Its mastery is not worth it. And if you do happen to get the Bloxfruit, I highly recommend going to your stats. Again, there's stats in the game, forgot to mention that. And only leveling up these three: melee, defense, and sword. Melee, if you're using a fighting style. Defense, it's for your health. Forgot to mention too, melee is for your stamina. So how much energy you have in the bottom left. Sword, obviously if you use a sword, increases the damage. So I highly recommend leveling up those three stats and never focusing on Bloxfruit if you get Buddha. So you may be asking, why just those three and not Bloxfruit? Again, don't level up Buddha. Buddha you're not using for its fruit abilities, you're using it for just the shift. So the Bloxfruit stat is pointless. I happen to have Mastery 107 because I just happen to be using it. Like, that's really just it. Yeah, so again, this is pure suggestion. You could go off the books and get Bloxfruit level. You could do it as many times as you want. I can't stop you. I'm just telling you what's best. If you have the Buddha fruit. The second fruit, it's the magma fruit. Magma fruit, really good. A lot of people use it for its lava flooring. So you're able to go into a puddle and just run around the enemies, and you'll leave behind puddles. And it's very good for farming, just like that. Okay, so back to masteries. How you level up the mastery, it's very simple. You go up to an enemy with whatever you have, whether it be a fruit, a fighting style, or a sword. Go up to them and just kill them. Gives you a fighting mastery level. The mastery level depends on whether it was the last hit. So remember that. So if I were to, let's say for example, just hit this guy and he didn't die, but he was left at low health, and then I happen to kill him with my swords, only my sword would get the mastery level, not my whatever initially hit him first. It's always going to be the last thing that kills, the final blow. Just keep that in mind. Mastery level is important. You've already been doing it if you've been using a sword up until the desert. If you've been doing it, that's great, that's good. You've been leveling up your mastery style, mastery combat style, that's good. Your fruit, good. Sword, good. You've been doing it. So yeah, that's enough about mastery. I really want to go into more detail about mastery, but I feel like I should save that for C2 because it becomes more important there. And again, Buddha fruit, if you get it, beautiful, beautiful fruit. Boring though, because you need to use it up until C3 and you get to max. That's when Buddha fruit you don't want to use it anymore, is when you get to max level. But for now, if you have Buddha fruit, good job, congratulations. If you have any other fruit, it's okay. You can always come back and spin it. It'll cost you more money, but you can come back and spin it. And yeah, not much else I could really showcase to you other than some fighting styles and a secret vendor location, really. But let's move on to the desert. So once you come back to the jungle and you finish the pirate village, head over to the desert. The desert is where you really want to start leveling up your mastery level, so you should take advantage there. And once you're done with the desert, because the desert only has 2 quests, they're very long and boring, move on to the frozen village. Frozen village, let me tell you, is possibly the only important island for level 100 and below. So frozen village has a secret little cave located onto the right side of the island when you first arrive on their dock. On the right side of the island, there's a cave. You go in it, and there's an ability teacher. He teaches you how to skywalk, which is air jump. Second ability is like flash step, and the third one is aura, which is hockey. So air jump allows you to jump multiple times in the air, as it's stated. Aura is really, really important for C2 and 3. You can't skip that. So you need to grab it. It's also important here. Flash step, not really important. It helps you teleport, and it costs like, I believe $100,000. Or yeah, 100,000 in Bloxfruit terms. And it's not really like that important to get, but you can always come back and get it. So flash jump, or sorry, aura and air jump. Air jump, helpful. Aura, which is hockey, by far the most important thing you need to grab. Does not matter what anybody says, grab that. So aura, or haki, would literally help you improve your combats. So for example, if you get haki, it improves your sword or your fighting style. So with the aura, it allows people to really just become enhanced with their physical attacks and weapons. So if somebody's using a fruit that allows them to literally negate attack, pretty much haki is the only thing that could counter that. So as a dough user, if somebody were to hit me, the attack would go through me. And if somebody was a haki user and they hit me, the attack won't go through me and it'll actually hit me. You'll learn that in C2 when I get into that guide. For now, grab aura and move on to the Fishman Karate Island. That is the underwater island, underwater city. Go in there. There's a dude on the right side of the palace. He will give you fish karate. This is only if you're available to get to this area. If you want to learn Fishman Karate, you gotta learn for the first one, which is, I believe, just water kung fu. So just go there, learn water kung fu, and level up if you're there. Next one is at the Marine Fortress on the far right side of the sea. It's going to have a secret vendor located in a tower. You go down the hatch, and there he is. Sells you a black coat for like 50,000. But I should also mention, if you're there leveling up, if you attack the Marine guy, he has a chance to drop his coat. It has some good stats. It's not really that crazy, but it's good stats for C1. Next area, if you happen to be at the Sky Island area, behind the island itself and on the rocks, there is a teacher, electric fist teacher. You can learn electric fist there if you want. And at the same spot, if you head all the way up at the very top and you see buildings, you could jump to the other cloud that's there. And on that other cloud, it's called the Upper Skylands or whatever. There's a little stone building. You go through the stone building, and at the bottom, it teleports you to the actual Sky Island area, the Upper Sky Island. You head on to the roots, go all the way to the Mayan temple looking place. At the very top is Usopp. He teaches you instinct, and that is how you learn instinct, which is very important for C2 and C3. What I'm going to teach you is how to level up those two things, which is aura and instinct. Instinct you learn by dodging. You dodge once, it levels up your instinct, and you have to get to a certain amount of instinct level, which you won't know until you go and talk to Usopp again. To learn more instinct dodges, right now I have 8. To get more instinct dodges, I think you start off at like 0.5 or 1. You just have to constantly use it and let people attack you, and you'll dodge, and it starts building it up. Haki, it's almost the same way, except you do damage with haki active, and you do like damage with melee, damage with sword, anything really, and allow them to hit you too. It builds it up, and it allows your haki to build up even more, which starts spreading over to your body. C2 has that more important stuff that I'll go into, but for C1 it's just very mellow. There's another thing I want to get into, but I think I'm going to save that for a separate video. But I really do hope this guide helped you. I know I wasn't going into very much detail about every single island in this place, but that's because every single island, it's not like it's pretty much just the same thing, just leveling up. What you want to take from this video is not to do the second quest on some of the islands. Some of the islands, if they have you go further away from the quest giver and some of the enemies aren't bunched up, it's not worth doing that quest and just going back to the first one. If you want, you can do the third quest too, but you need to always go back to the first one or second one. I know it's long and tedious, but let me show you something very important. I usually tend to do this because there's always free codes. If you go to the actual Bloxfruit Discord, you might find codes. Actually still work till this day. But sometimes I use a website that shows like codes for the game, and they tend to actually still be active. So I'll just link down below a Bloxfruit codes that are still active for 2024. And you could go and start copying those codes and using them, and they'll give you double XP for either 15 or 30 minutes, depending on which code it is. Highly recommend doing that, as it is a big time saver and you don't have to spend any Robux. This is free. Yeah, Hope this guide was helpful, and I really do appreciate everybody who's watching this, who wants to get into Bloxfruit. I will be doing another guide on C3 and C2, but that won't be for a little bit because I have to really go into detail on every single island. But hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you liked it. Share it with anybody that wants to learn Bloxfruit stuff. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace out.